I want to talk about creating our intentional wardrobes. I'll be focusing a little bit on winter, even though it's a little late to be focusing on that now. It's early January as I record this, and this probably won't go up until the end of January, so this will be a little late running, and that's okay. But I felt the need to go through this and share what I have thought about and learned, and partly because I just made two videos back to back yesterday about going through my stash and trying to figure out a way to create accountability so that I will actually follow through and use it. And also, I shared my homemade wardrobe so far, which is very small. And I am absolutely stunned by what happened in the last 24 hours since I recorded those videos. As I actually learned so much about myself, my wardrobe, my preferences, my values, and even I even figured out a way to start chipping away at that stash. And I want to share all of that with you and share how this is evolving into what I would like to see for this part of my seasonal wardrobe. Yeah, so let's get into it. So before I start and show you some of the things that I'm thinking of, some of the things on my Pinterest board, the first thing that I want to share is how effective it can be to slow down and be intentional about what you're doing. And I say that because that is what I set out to do when I created the video about my stash. I really wanted to help myself come to a place where I would be motivated to dive into it again, because at this point it's just overwhelm. So I thought if I made a video about it and shared it, I would be a little more equipped to follow through with it and also like feel some accountability there, but perhaps increase the motivation to do so because I would be able to actually show people what I've done. And one of the things that I talked about is, again, the overwhelm of having all of this fabric and this yarn and not quite knowing how to dive into it, like not quite knowing how to manage it and to get into it and where to begin. But of course, I was thinking about a spreadsheet because I'm a Virgo rising. My life is spreadsheets. I love them. And I thought maybe if I made one in Google Docs and I have one tab for yarn, one tab for fabric, that might help me consolidate all my information in one place so that when I go to look at patterns, I don't drop the ball. Because that what I'll do is I'll look at a pattern and then I'll think, I don't know how much yardage I have of this. I don't know what weight yarn this or that is. And the only way to find out is to go through my email receipts and try to look for the information of what I bought, or to go into my actual stash and get it out and look at the labels and or measure things. And clearly, I'm not going to do either one of those things. Like, let's just get real. And so, what if I had all that information in one place? Now, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because I dove into it headfirst last night. I spent an hour writing all that stuff down. I know there are websites that actually allow you to do this, like Ravelry. You can put your stash in Ravelry, and it's really comprehensive and very intuitive. Like, it's super awesome. But I don't find that I use that and then I have a space where my fabric stash lives somewhere else. I'm sure there's probably a website that does both, but I don't know. And for me, the most important thing was having something that I could easily access. And Google Docs, I just use it all the time. So there it is. So incredibly, this morning, I had already envisioned a, a type of pattern that I wanted to use for a specific type of yarn that I have, but I haven't been able to find it. Then I was watching a YouTube video on, what someone else knit in a year. and they mentioned one of my favorite designers. And then I thought, well, that's a pretty sweater. I'll go look at that. And then I noticed in her pattern store, she had the exact sweater that I had been envisioning for this particular yarn. So I opened it up. I read the weight, like the type of yarn, the gauge, the amount of yardage, and my first instinct was, oh my God, I don't know what that yarn is. Never mind, forget it. And then I remembered, oh, I made a spreadsheet last night. So I looked on the spreadsheet, gauge, weight, yardage, check, 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 all three of those boxes. So I bought the pattern and I'm going to cast on this weekend. And I could not believe that in 12 hours time, because I set out to have an intention of doing this, of creating some structure and a way to help me through the overwhelm of dealing with my stash, just from that alone, I was able to take action 12 hours later. And I also want to be very specific that this isn't about goals or goal setting. I know it's January and I can feel that part of me get fired up and want to dive into that. Like, oh yeah, let's do this for the outcome. And if there's any goal attached to this, I want it to be access to a more mindful, intentional way to go about this process, to engage with my hobbies, to create a mindful wardrobe, a sustainable wardrobe, to do these things that align with my values and my, enjoyment, and be able to actually enjoy it, because I haven't been. So there's no goal here that I'm going to get through the whole spreadsheet in 2025. I mean, of course I want to, of course I do, but that is not the point. I feel like it's very important for me to look at that spreadsheet and understand that that is a structure that I am creating for my peace and well-being and for a less chaotic engagement with my hobbies and values. Now, the other thing that I realized as I was going through the pieces that I have made before, my handmade items, I realized a lot of stuff about myself, my preferences, what I wear, why I wear what I wear. It's been a really interesting 24 hours. So one of the things that I realized is that I need to give myself permission to wear what I want to wear versus what I think I want to wear. This was a huge realization for me. So let me give you an example. When I go through my Pinterest boards for fashion inspiration, there's a lot of stuff in there that catches my eye and I find it beautiful. And then I try to replicate that in my wardrobe. The problem is that frequently, not always, but frequently, there is a gap in between those two things. Let's say one of them is the aspiration of the look, and one of them is the reality. So what exists in the gap? What stops me from getting to this? And I've looked at it really carefully, and what I realized is there are many factors. One of them is comfort, pure and simple. One of them, like, I'm not going to wear something that looks beautiful, but that I don't feel comfortable in. And not just that, but that I need to feel comfortable in it in my own lifestyle. It's not just something where like I feel comfortable in it in general when I'm walking around, going to the store and running errands. That's great. But I work at home and I get up and down a lot. I will use my walking pad a lot. I'm sitting a lot. And so I want something that is comfortable for this particular lifestyle that I have. And that doesn't always match the things that I'm picking out on Pinterest. Another thing is, and I touched on this in the video that I recorded yesterday when I was talking about deconstructing my dresses. It was right there in front of me. And when I finished the video, I thought, oh, I get it now. Another thing that exists in this gap for me is honestly gender identity. There are a lot of clothes and looks that I love that don't work for my gender identity. Like, I admire them, I love the way they look, but they don't work for my gender identity. And again, this was huge to realize. I love ultra femme tutus, Celtic princesses, pioneer women. Like, I don't care what it is. If you get me voluminous skirts, tulle, cinched waistlines, long hair, like, I love it all. But that is not me. That's just not me. If I'm going to go femme, I can't go all the way. It just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't look right to me. I need to balance the femme with the butch. Like, I need a little butch. And that's what I was saying about my flowered dress, and the reason that I want to cut it in half and start using it as a shirt and a skirt separately, because it's just way too much woman for me and I need to butch it up. And I realized that when I am looking at my Pinterest boards or any inspiration for fashion, I need to be discerning about why I like what I like, because it's great and fine to pick out the Celtic princess dresses and the, beautiful women on the prairie dresses and the ballerina chic looks. But how do I translate that to my life? We have to meet in the middle here. So the answer is not to emulate this look, the aspirational look. It's to figure out what I like about it and then bring elements of that into my wardrobe where it works with my reality. Like, that was just so huge for me to understand. And I feel like I needed to give myself permission to do that. Like, I actually had to give myself permission to like what I like for the reasons that I like it. Comfort being one of them. And that's okay. I feel like we're kind of pressured into this idea that we should wear what's pretty versus what's comfortable. And I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that. So another thing that I realized is that I have a desire for my wardrobe to be filled with what I might call high usage items, things that I wear a lot that work for me and ideally make me feel good about myself. But like, I would like that to be something more than just yoga pants. We all want to wear yoga pants all the time, but I would like to be able to create a wardrobe that is filled with clothes that are as comfortable or almost as comfortable as yoga pants, so that I can wear them all the time. And again, feel good about myself that I am putting effort into my look. And again, that means giving myself permission to make things with elastic waistbands. It's okay. It doesn't have, like, I don't have to look like I came out of a magazine. It's okay for me to choose comfort over the things that we're told we're supposed to wear as women, the things that we're told are supposed to be fashionable and delicate and beautiful and femme. We don't need to do that. This also got me thinking about detail and accessories. And I was thinking about how important it is to have things that you can customize an item with, and all the better if you can make something and then have multiple accessories that you could wear with it that could change it up a little bit, like give it a different look or a different feel. And this also brought back my love of fashion. Like, oh my God, I completely forgot about how much I have loved fashion in the past. And I kind of forgot about how much I loved to play with clothes. It's such a creative outlet for me. And part of what makes it so fun and special is the detail work. Those little details are so fun and so important to making something special. And I realized that this is a realization I had in my house as well. It's not just about accessorizing. It's not just about being smart about how to make something look different just by what you put with it. It's about unexpected details or fun. It doesn't have to be unexpected, but like fun details. I think about this with my garage makeover. If you've seen those videos, I had some paint left over from an old project. So I painted my back door in the garage green, like Hobbit green. And it makes me so happy every time I look at it because it's this wildly unexpected detail. I never would have thought to do that. And it just occurred to me in that moment and I did it. It's one of those crazy things where it was just like a low effort, high payoff project because it's so fun and unexpected. And so I love the idea of like on my board here, there's a little like red pink sweater and it has red elbow pads knitted into it. And I'm just like, oh my God, that is so cute. Of course, I'm thinking of embroidery. I'm thinking of detachable collars, different styles of collars that you can wear on top of different shirts or dresses, like patterned tights. That's definitely not going to happen because comfort, but you know, it's an idea. Unexpected belts, unexpected pops of color, all of these things. And it just gives me so much joy to think about all of these ways that I could incorporate details into my handmade wardrobe instead of just stopping at the end of the pattern. What could I do to embellish it in some way or create something else that could embellish it and change it out with other embellishments? And I'm just going to say it. I feel like we should bring fabric flowers back. I always loved that. Carrie Bradshaw fabric flowers, loved them, had a bunch of them, wore them all the time. I would like to see us bring them back. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but I love them. Let's look at my Pinterest board. Let's get into this real quick. And I want to show you what I'm learning about how I am discerning the things that I like, being able to pick out these little details that I can translate into my reality wardrobe. So what I'm seeing here are, first of all, mixing patterns, mixing colors, and mixing textures, which is something that I've always really loved, but I can see it so clearly here. So what I'm seeing in particular are really bold patterns on the bottom, skirts, pants, tights, and then like plain boxy oversized sweaters on top, or this is my favorite, cabled sweaters. And I say that because when you've got cabling on a sweater and it's light enough, I'm not talking like you can't really see it when it's black, the cables become a pattern. And so then you have this like faux pattern mixing. It's not really a pattern, but it's visually like your brain will treat it the same way. I love mixing those things together. I see a lot of plaids and ginghams in here. And again, I'm surprised by how much I am loving the mixing of big billowy skirts or big billowy pants, and usually like cotton or wool or linen, and then mixing them with big oversized boxy sweaters. And that surprised me. If you have seen my most watched video, that's one where I go through my closet and I get rid of all the stuff that's too big for me. And I think that was the important thing to do, but it's funny that my mindset at the time was I need tighter clothes. I'm tired of swimming in my clothes. And now I look at all these silhouettes and they're like big, boxy, oversized, layered. Like basically you look like a Hobbit grandma. And that is just exactly what appeals to me. And I think that's okay. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Another interesting thing that I'm seeing is pinafores, big, flouncy pinafores over really bold prints on shirts. I see, like, I love florals and stripes together. And I also noticed there's a lot of candy cane stripes in here and red gingham in here. So clearly like the whole winter vibe or Christmas vibe is coming through in this. Layers, layers, layers. I see layers everywhere. The silhouettes, again, the silhouettes are very big and boxy. Some of them are very bell-shaped, whether it's barrel pants or really voluminous skirts. And again, really long, oversized, boxy sweaters. So it's just this, you know, down to here, and then it extends out bell. There's very few outfits in here that are really fitted or that have a visible waistline. And that's fascinating to me. That's fascinating. Like, I don't know what's going on. Changed my mind about that waistline. I really love all of the big dresses and pinafores over jeans and long sleeved shirts. Loving that look. I also noticed that I appear to be really into quilted jackets and quilted vests. I see a lot of red in here, lots of pops of red and citrones. I'm not surprised by the red. I love pops of color. And what is more fun than like a true red or a cherry red? It's so, so fun. And I see that it's typically like one thing will be that color, like socks, shoes, a dress, a shirt, a sweater. I just love that. Another thing that I've noticed is white skirts, big, long, voluminous white skirts paired with oversized boxy sweaters in various colors. But in particular, I have pinned probably 10 of them where the white skirt is paired with a big boxy white or off-white sweater, and typically a cabled sweater, like a Irish fisherman sweater or something like that. And I'm surprised by that. It's very monochromatic. But the one thing that I really love about it is that it's an unexpected blend of seasons to me, because all of these white skirts, they look very summery to me. So I love this idea of mixing the summer skirt with the winter sweater. Vests, knitted vests, super into that. I need to make some with my stash. It's not like I don't have the yarn. Boots, 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 and more boots. Particularly ankle boots. I seem to be really into ankle boots this time around. Okay. Layers, drapey. I like when there are really masculine elements to a really feminine outfit. Love that, obviously. Like I just pretty much already explained that one. Boxy layers, colors, cables, plaids. So I'm looking at all of these things, and as I said, I am asking myself as I go, and I look at each picture and I say, what do I like about that? Because there are some in here that I would never wear. Like, I don't like the colors. Sometimes I don't like the silhouette. Sometimes I don't like the texture. Sometimes I'll look at it and I'll say, that looks really pretty on that model, but it would look awful. Like, I know my body, it would look awful on me. Sometimes I look at it and I think, no, that's not going to work for me. That does not look comfortable to me. But then I just ask myself, what do I like? I like the colors. I like the texture of the yarn. I like the drape of the sweater. And so that is what gives me information on how to translate it from this picture, the ideal, the aspiration, to my real life. So I can look at all of these. There's this beautiful picture of a woman in like a tweed skirt and an oversized cream shirt or cream sweater, and she's got red Wellingtons on. And I look at that and I'm like, I pretty much like the whole outfit. It's a little bit plain for me, but I do like it. But what do I love about this outfit? I love the red wellies. I love red shoes. And the fact that they're wellies is so unexpected and fun. So that is something that I can find ways to bring into my actual wardrobe, whether it's investing in another pair of wellies that I don't use in the garden that are red, or like maybe some red ankle boots. There are different ways that I can make that happen. So that's just a thought in the back of my mind as I go through the winter and see what I like, if I find anything like that. When I look at pictures of people with patterned tights, I look at it and immediately know I don't want to wear tights. That's not comfortable to me. What do I like about that? I like the pattern. And so then all I have to do is like, hey, where do I put that pattern? Like I can find something with a similar pattern, make it into a pair of pants or a skirt. And there's another thing. I have a lot of skirts. I have a lot of skirts and I don't wear them very frequently. I used to, and I just don't as much anymore. And again, I feel like the reason is I feel like I need the comfort and practicality of pants more frequently than I want to wear a skirt. But I feel this cultural pressure that if I want to be in my femme energy, I need to wear a skirt. So I have all of these skirts that I very rarely wear at this point. And I feel like I need to give myself permission to stop feeling like I need to make more skirts and wear more skirts. Like who said I do? Permission to be who we are and exist in our wardrobe in a way that makes sense for us, for our identities, for our lives. So, wow, I learned so much about myself through this process of just making the previous 2 videos on this subject. And I can't even believe how much has come forth in all of this, how much I have been able to understand and explore about myself. I'm honestly excited about this because it's the first time I have felt an enthusiasm for getting dressed in a long time. And this morning, when I picked out this boring ass outfit, I realized as I was looking through my wardrobe is that I have very few, what did I call them, high usage pieces that are fun. I don't have a lot of accessories or clothes with special details that make things fun. Like I have all of these basics, like basic t-shirts and basic cardigans. Everything is basic, you know? And I need to infuse my wardrobe with color and patterns and of course texture so that I can start to create things that will be mix and matchable, and to think of it as a growing, living, breathing entity. Like my wardrobe is alive and I want to be mindful and deeply involved in its curation and creation, especially living in the world that we live in today with fast fashion and the environmental crises that we are facing. We need to be slower and more intentional about what we're doing with our everyday lives, including what we pick out to wear in the mornings or how we build a wardrobe. I also feel like this is a really important way to take back sovereignty and joy in capitalistic, white supremacist, patriarchal, apocalyptic America. There's so much going on right now as I record this. There's so much going on in the world. Like I don't remember the last time that I looked at the news and didn't cry. And I feel like these are the ways that we can take back our power by choosing what we want to do with our own lives and how to create things that are outside of the system to some effect, things that are sustainable, things that we have thought through, things that are intentional and infused with our values, and to create beauty within our own lives that will ripple out into the rest of the world. Because there's so little, it feels like there's so little of that right now. And I feel like we have the power to cultivate that within ourselves and our own lives in order to gift that to other people just by our own existence. Imagine getting up every day and going to your wardrobe and looking at what you've got and feeling really good about pretty much every choice you have of what you want to put on that day. And then imagine wearing it out into the world and other people seeing it and seeing you in that outfit, being happy and joyful and aligned with your values. I just love that so much. I feel like it's impossible for that to not rub off on other people in one way or another. It's about energy, the energy that we put out there. So I hope that this inspires you as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas and tips about your seasonal wardrobe planning and what you do if you make your own clothes. follow along with me on this, like and subscribe. I'll be doing more of this. And again, I'm hoping that making these videos will help keep me accountable to actually following through and making these items. I'll try to show as I go how they fit in with my vision boards and what I'm picking out from those and creating in my own wardrobe. All right, everybody, go get your sewing machine, get your knitting needles, your crochet hooks, and let's get this going.